Well, now back home. Put our life back together again. First, a vacation with Kay and Diane. We went over to Lake Chelan. That was before we bought this Jeep. What else we did before I went back to work, I don't remember. I used to play chess with a neighbor in the terrace named Maynard Keene. He beat me more than I beat him. On the side, I studied chess books and played with members of the chess club to try to learn how to beat him. I don't think I beat him more than he beat me, at least enough to consistently win. Eventually, we thought we would go down to the local chess club and try our luck with the better chess players. We learned real fast that there was a lot we did not know about chess. They beat us easily. I guess I am not smart enough to be a good chess player. Maynard was a cab driver. I stayed at the Seattle plant until I was offered a job at the Edmonds Distribution Center. It was a plant for bulk distribution of petroleum products, not lubricating oil, but diesel, gasoline, fuel oil, ship bunker fuel, and so on. The ships with these products could tie up to the pier and offload to the tanks on the hill at the plant. My job as gauger was to oversee the offloading of the ships. When there was not a ship to offload, I loaded the tank trucks at the loading rack. Before global warming, the temperature would get down to 10 above at times. One night we had nearly a disaster offloading a ship. Normally a ship ties up to a dock or pier. It has a bow line, stern line, and a spring line. If either the bow or stern line get loose, that end of the ship could drift out from the dock, depending upon which way the tide is running. And if it was pumping gasoline at the time, fortunately, the time I am speaking about, when this happened, the stern line came loose and the ship began to drift away from the dock. If there is a tide, which there is at Edmonds, this could break the hose and spew whatever the ship was pumping into Puget Sound. In this case, the sailors had just loosely tied their end of the line and it came loose. There is no danger of it coming loose on the dock because the line has a loop on the end and you just put it over a cleat and it can't come off. It is not uncommon for the ship's crew to get hooked up, start the pumps, then go inside to have a cup of coffee. When the line came loose and the ship started drifting away from the dock, I could not go on board and tell someone to hook up the line again. All I could do was stand by and hope someone would come out and see the problem because the ship was too far for me to jump on board. So all I could do was helplessly stand by hoping someone would come out on the deck. If the hose had broken, the ship was pumping at about 9,000 barrels an hour, which would go directly into the Puget Sound. That is about 6,300 gallons a minute. Also, if it had been pumping gasoline, all it would take was a spark and the whole ship and pier would have gone up in flames. There was no phone on the dock and the pier was 1,000 feet long, so there was no way for me to get to a phone. So all I could do was stand by and hope someone would eventually come out. Eventually someone did come out on deck and restored the line and pulled the ship back to the dock. That was a scary moment. One other time I had a near disaster was one time when I was a boiler operator. To keep the heavy oil fluid enough to move through the pipes, we had a steam boiler which ran steam pipes up to the tanks and kept them warm. I had studied steam boiler operation and understood that one thing you must not do is shut off the steam out of an oil-fired boiler without reducing the fire first. Absolutely. A boiler running at 25 pounds heating several tanks takes a lot of steam. If you're going to shut off the steam to tanks, you had better shut off the boiler first. There is a safety valve, of course, but that is only for stupid stunts that should not happen in the first place. It can fail. If it fails, it will blow up. The reason there could not be a sudden decrease of steam consumption before decreasing the fire is that if you blow the safety valve, it might be plugged up, so the steam in the boiler cannot get out of the tank. If you do, the boiler can instantly blow up. Remember that Mount St. Helens blew its top with steam. In a steam boiler, if the water level is too high, when the safety valve blows from overpressure, the boiling water can boil up and block the steam from getting out, therefore building up pressure very fast. Fortunately, the time that I did the stupid stunt of shutting off the steam before shutting off the fire, the water was not high enough to boil up and block the valve. The principle also works in home pressure cookers. If you make the liquid level too high, it can boil up and block the steam regulator column, and the safety plug will blow. That even happened to me not too long ago. This is an aluminum pressure cooker, and it got so high before it blew that it bulged the bottom, and I had to pound it flat again. Yes, steam is potent stuff. You cannot trust those plugs in pressure cookers to work. One in my pressure cooker did not work. Otherwise, the bottom would not have bulged when it overpressured. After I got back to work at Union Oil, Yesler Terrace decided I had freeloaded long enough at the public trough and told me I would have to move. We looked around and found a very small house in Richmond Highlands, which was later to become Shoreline City. When we moved there to 185th and Wallingford in 1947 or 8, I don't remember, there was not a lot of construction going on that far out in the suburbs, so there was a lot of open space. In fact, to call her mom in Greenwood, it was a long distance. Wallingford actually ended at 185th, and we were just north of 185th on Wallingford. The road to our house, which the address was 18524, I think, was dirt and ended in front of our house. In fact, Frank bought a surplus Railway Express agency truck and parked it in front on the road. North of there was just trees and logs. The price we paid was $7,000, and it was actually overpriced at that. The guy had added a portion on the house after the original shack and put a septic tank, and he had put a septic tank alongside the house. But when he added the extra part of the house, he just built it over the septic tank. As a first-time buyer, I was green as grass and didn't think about where or if there was a septic tank. And was so later, about a year later, I had trouble and found out where it was. These days, he couldn't get away with that. I contacted the county, and they contacted him and made him come back from Spokane and repair the septic system. He was not a happy camper, I can assure you, as he had sold the house illegally in that respect. Another incident happened to Kay that shakes me to this day when I think of it. The house did not have central heating, but was heated with an oil stove.